everyone, and a very good evening. This is Vriddhi ma'am, and I welcome you all to my English class, English with Vriddhi ma'am. Today we will be doing Sermons at Banaras, which is a very important chapter from the board's point of view. Please note this chapter is strictly recorded in English because I want all of you to understand how to write your answers. And in case if you do not understand this video, please feel free to put it in the comment section below. I have put this summary right over here, so if you want, you can take a screenshot of it as well. It's very simple. The word sermon itself means to talk or to preach. That means that this entire story is about a talking, it's about a preaching of whom it is about Lord Buddha. And this entire story it revolves around the life of Lord Buddha, who was originally born as a prince in a royal family. He is the reason why we have Buddhism today. And at the age of 25, he went out of his kingdom in order to he went out of the kingdom to hunt. But at that time, he was exposed to the suffering of the world. Till the age of 25, he was protected by his father. But now, when he went out into the world, he realized what real suffering was when he saw the four sights, which you're going to study in detail in the chapter. So, on seeing the miseries of the world, he left his princehood and that he realized that the world is filled with misery and it is important to leave all the worldly pleasures behind. So upon attaining the spiritual belief, he gave his first sermon in the city of Banaras, to a lady called Kisa Gautami. He gave his first teaching to a lady called Kisa Gautami, and that is when Kisa Gautami realized that it is the mortal men whose lives are useless. The only real truth behind life is to give up selfishness, and the world is filled with misery, and the only way you can overcome it is by being selfless. So this is the entire story about Kisa Gautami, how her child died and how Buddha made her realize the real meaning of life, which is that one person should not grieve, should not be sad, and should realize that whatever is bound to happen will happen. If you grieve over it, if you remain sad over it, you're only going to increase the pain. It is also important for you to realize that the message over here is that death is inevitable. That means it is going to happen one day or another. So we should be accepted towards it, and the wise men are the ones who overcome it quickly rather than grieving over it. So now that we have the summary, let's move on forward to the chapter. Stay till the end and make sure you make your notes. Feel free to put the doubts in the chat box below. And until then, if you like my description, if you like the video, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll stay tuned for more updates. And let's begin now.
Okay, Ruchit. So we'll start with the sermons at Banaras. Let me share my screen with you for sermons at Banaras. The sermon at Banaras is a very, very, very interesting chapter. It is about Lord Buddha and his experience, how he started off. So it's entirely based on that. So when we read this story, you're going to be enthralled by the experience that Lord Buddha had. So Gautam Buddha began his life as a prince named Siddharth Gautam in northern India. At 12, he was sent away for schooling in the Hindu sacred scriptures, and 4 years later, he returned home to marry a princess. They had a son and lived for 10 years as befitted royalty. Royalty means they were very rich, very filthy rich. They were extremely rich. At the age of 25, the prince, heretofore shielded from the sufferings of the world, while out hunting, chanced upon a sick man, then an aged man, then a funeral procession, and finally a monk begging for alms. These sights so moved him that he at once went out into the world to seek enlightenment concerning the sorrows he had witnessed. He wandered for 7 years and finally sat down under a peepal tree. So I am very sure that you must have understood, you must have read about Lord Buddha in your previous grades. You must have read about him in your previous standards, where he was somebody who, he was the one who started Buddhism. Lord Buddha is the one who gained spiritual enlightenment. So we are studying about Lord Buddha and his journey. We are talking about how he began his life, how he started with his life, how he became a priest. He was a prince first. He was a prince first. We learn about how he went from a prince to becoming a priest who preached about enlightenment. So Gautam Buddha, he began as a prince named Siddharth Gautam. You may get a 1 mark question that what was his name as a prince. So his name as a prince was Siddharth Gautam. Where did he live? He lived in the northern India. At the age of 12, he was sent away for schooling, basically like a boarding school. So when he was 12 years old, he was sent away for schooling in the Hindu sacred scriptures. So he was sent away far where he could study the Hindu mythology. 4 years later, that means at the age of 16, what was his age when he came back? He was 16 years old when he came back, and he came back. Why did he come back? He returned home to marry a princess. So there are multiple questions over here. So please mark it. What was the age when he came back? He was 16 years old. Why did he come back? He came back to marry a princess. After that, he had a son and lived for 10 years as befitted royalty. That means as a son of a royal king, he lived like that for 10 years. At about the age of 25, the prince, hereafter, shielded from the sufferings of the world. That means that from this very point, he moved forward to live a life which shielded him, or which protected him from the sufferings of the world, protected him from the sufferings of the world. So as we know that Lord Buddha was a prince, he was protected by his father. Because he was a prince, he was protected by his father. How was he protected? He was protected because he just lived in the kingdom. He did not know what were the sorrows of the world. So, at the age of 25, he went out of the kingdom to realize that what exactly is the real world about? What exactly is the sufferings of the world? Till now, till this point, till the age of 25, he was shielded. He was protected from the sufferings of the world. But now he went out only to see what the world is about and what is there in this world. So when he went out, when he was out, while he was hunting, he chanced upon means he came upon a sick man, then an aged man, a funeral procession, and finally a monk begging for alms. So there were four sights that he came across. What are the four sights? One, a sick man; two, an aged man; three, a funeral procession; and four is a monk which was begging for alms. Alms means वो diksha मांग रहा था. Diksha means pennies, so that he could fill his tummy. These sights moved him. Whom did it move? These sights moved Gautam Buddha. It moved him so much that he went out to the world to seek enlightenment. He left everything. He was like, I'm done with everything, and now only and only I want enlightenment. Concerning the sorrows he had witnessed, he wanted to find the reason behind these sorrows. He wanted to get out of the sorrow, and he wanted to see what is the reason behind the sorrows of the world. And this is how he wandered for 7 years. He wandered for 7 years and finally then sat under a peepal tree where he vowed. Vowed means promised to stay until enlightenment came. So he stayed over there until he found the enlightenment. enlightened after 7 days. So he was waiting for 7 years, but in 7 days he received or he achieved enlightenment. He renamed the tree the Bodhi tree. So the place where he was preaching, the place where where he found enlightenment is still existing today itself. The Bodhi tree still exists. That is where he found the enlightenment. The tree of wisdom, that is what it is called. And this is how he began to teach and share his own understandings. This is how he began to teach and share his new understandings about how the life is. What do you mean by new understandings over here? New understandings is a new way of living, the ways of life, the spiritual enlightenment is what we are talking about over here. At the point, he became known as the Buddha. So at this point, he came to be known as the Buddha. What is the meaning of Buddha? The awakened or the enlightenment. So he was called the Buddha, and the tree was called the Bodhi tree. The Buddha preached his first sermon at the city of Banaras. What is the meaning of sermon? It's mentioned right over there. The meaning of sermon is a religious or a moral talk. That means basically, you know how in Hindu system we have the kathas, our grandmothers, they listen to the kathas. So that is exactly what he did. Preached. He preached wisdom to the people. His first sermon at the city of Banaras. So even today, Banaras is known as the city of Buddha. Most holy, the different places on the river Ganges. What do you mean by this? This means that Banaras is a place where people, especially the monks and all monks, the normal people, the general people, the people of the kingdom, they come to that place Banaras so that they can dip inside the river Ganges. Dipping in the river Ganges is known to be very auspicious because it is said that when you dip yourself in the Ganges, you are thoroughly enlightened, you are rinsed of your sins. जो भी पाप होते हैं वो धुल जाते हैं. That is what is said when you dip in the river Ganges. So that sermon has been preserved and is given here. This is what we are talking about. Sermon is what we are talking about. The sermon at the beginning is what we are going to be studying. It reflects the Buddha's wisdom about one inscrutable kind of suffering, a suffering which cannot come to an end, something that cannot be understood. That why is our human life suffering so much? And that is the suffering that was preached in Buddha's wisdom. So inscrutable is something that we cannot get an answer to. So inscrutable kind of a suffering is what Buddha's wisdom was about. That why are we suffering so much? Here is one example in this story. One example of this unscrutable kind of suffering, and this is a real example, a real life story. So Kisa Gautami is who is the story based upon. Kisa Gautami had only one son and he died. In her grief, she carried the dead child to all the neighbors, asking them for medicine. And the people said she has lost her senses. The boy is dead. So Kisa Gautami was a mother. So her child had died. So it's obvious that she would be having the motherly love. She would have the motherly love for her child. Her son had died, and especially when he was the only son had died. And in her grief means in her sadness, she carried this dead child to her neighbors, asking them for medicine. So she asked all the neighbors if they could help her out. And all what the neighbors did was they said that she has lost her senses. Why did she lose her senses? Because the boy was dead. You may get a question that why do you think that she has lost her senses? We think that she has lost her senses because the boy was already dead, and the motherly love of Kisa Gautami wanted the neighbors to help her so that the boy comes alive. So Kisa Gautami wanted her dead child to once again come alive, and that is the reason why we know that, and that is the reason why the neighbors said that she has lost her senses. because the boy was dead. At length means at one go, at one stretch. Kisa Gautami met a man who replied to her request. I cannot give thee medicine for thy child, but I know a physician who can. So now, if you see the depth of this paragraph, it is in old English. I cannot give thee. Thee means you. In olden times, you was written as thee. I cannot give you medicine for thy child. Thy means your child. But I know a physician who can give you the gift, who can give you the medicine. And the girl said, and so then the lady got very happy, and the lady was like, yes, please tell me, who is that man? The girl said, pray tell me, sir, who it is. And the man replied, go to Sakya Muni, the Buddha. So the we come to over here we come to know that the Buddha is the one who everyone refers to. He is known, he was also a physician, as what is said in the common language. So the man suggested her to go to Sakya Muni, who was the Buddha. Kisa Gautami repaired to the Buddha and cried, Lord and Master, give me the medicine that will cure my boy. So now she went to Buddha and she fell in front of him. She begged in front of him and told him that Lord, God, she over here she uses the word Lord because she gives him the position of the God. She tells him, God, Sir, Master, Teacher, please give me the medicine that will cure my boy, that will make my boy come alive, come back to me once again. The Buddha answered very wisely, you do one thing, give me a handful of mustard seed. And when the girl in her joy promised to procure it, Buddha added, the mustard seed must be taken from a house where no one has lost a child, husband, parent, or a friend. So, this was a very interesting scene, a very interesting position where we see how wise Buddha is. Buddha tells Kisa Gautami to give her a handful of mustard. A handful of mustard means to give just some grains of mustard seeds. At that time, the girl got very happy. She was filled with joy. She was happy. She was like, okay, I will get you the seeds that you need. But at that time, Buddha puts a condition. He says that the mustard seed that you give me should only come from a house where no one has lost a child. So over here he says that you can give me a mustard seed, but it should come only from a house in which someone has lost a child or a husband or a parent or a friend. Four things. So only from this place can she bring the mustard seed, no other place. Now, Gautami, poor Kisa Gautami was extremely confused. She went from house to house over here. She asked the people, and the people pitied her. Pitied her means they felt bad for her. They had sympathy for her. They said that here is a mustard seed, you take it. But when she asked, did a son or a daughter or father or a mother die in your family, they would always answer that, alas, the living are few, but the dead are many. Do not remind us of our deepest grief. This is the very beautiful line written by the writer. He says over here that this is what the people tell her, that there are a very few people who are living, but the deaths in our house have been so many. My father, my father's father, my father's father, my father's mother, my father's mother's father. There are so many people who have died. Therefore, the living are few and the dead are many. Please do not remind us of our deepest grief. Deepest grief means deepest sadness, deepest sorrow. We are very sad for our losses. Please do not remind us about the ones who have died in our family, because there is always somebody who has died in each and every family. And there was no house but where some beloved had died in it. So there was no way there was a house in which there was somebody who had not died. Kisa Gautami became wary. She became tired, she was now hopeless, and she sat down at the wayside watching the lights of the city. So now she was at the wayside. A wayside is a location in a town where you can see the entire valley. So she was now at the wayside. She was watching the lights of the city where she could see the entire city. As they flickered, they were flickering and they were extinguished again. That means they were first, they came to light, they were flickering. That means they were on, off, and then they were extinguished. That means it was night. They were extinguished means it was night. At last, the darkness of the night reigned everywhere. Reigned means win. Reign means win. It means that the entire city was now filled with the darkness of the night. And she considered the fate of men, that their lives flicker up and are extinguished again. And she thought to herself, how selfish am I in my grief? Death is common to all of us. Yet in this valley of desolation, there is a path that leads him to immortality who has surrendered all selfishness. So this is a very, very, very interesting paragraph. Let us read it once again. Kisa Gautami became weary. She became weary and hopeless and sat down at the wayside. She was watching the lights of the city. She saw how they flickered, how they were moving, how they were coming to light and then they were diminishing again. And suddenly they were all extinguished, they were all dark. It was because it was night now. The night was raining everywhere. The night wind, the night won, and now it is filled with night. The entire town is now. If there is darkness of light, it is the night time, and that is when she considered the fate of men. Now she is just thinking, कि जिंदगी कैसी है. It is simple in Hindi. If I tell you, if I tell explain it to you in Hindi, it's simply that जिंदगी कैसी है. जो लोग है वो कैसी जिंदगी जी रहे हैं. What is the fate of man? Destiny क्या है हमारी? क्या होने वाला है फ्यूचर में? We just don't know. हमारी जो जिंदगी है, our lives, they are flickering upon and then they are extinguished again. We are living, but once again we are going to die someday or the other, just like these lights. They were flickering, they were living, but then night happened and they went off, and that is when we see death. That is the time when we die. And this is what she thought to herself, that how selfish am I? I was so selfish in my sadness that I just did not understand that death is common to everyone. At every house there is death, no matter who. We come to life and we are going to go away from this earth. We come to the earth to live, and after we have lived, we are going to die and we are going to perish. But somehow in this valley of desolation, there is path that leads him to immortality, who has surrendered all the selfishness. So now she is getting philosophical. She's referring to Buddha over here. She is saying that death is common to everyone, but it is in this valley of desolation. Desolation is an area which is filled with sadness. In this valley of sadness, there is a path that leads us to immortality. Who is the one who she talking about over here? She is talking about Lord Buddha. That Lord Buddha, even though this full valley is filled with sadness, because every family there is a death. Because there is a death in every family. This is a valley filled with sadness. And even in this sadness, there is only one person who is immortal. And who is the immortal one? The immortal one is the one who has given up, surrendered being selfish. Immortality means somebody who does not die. And who is that man? He is the man who has given up selfishness. He is not selfish at all. He's just given up everything. And that is when Buddha says that the life of mortal in this world is troubled and brief and combined with pain. He says that the life that we live, we come in the life, we are born, then we struggle, and then we die. And this is inevitable. Inevitable. It is inevitable. Inevitable means it is going to happen. It is meant to be. It is going to happen in the future. Nobody can change it. So this is when we know that this is when Buddha preaches that this is the life. This is inevitable. Nobody can stop it, and it is in this world, this troubled world, that this trouble is all combined with pain. And that is when he concludes that this life that we are living is filled with pain. We think that this is the beauty, but this life is a pain. For there is not any means by which those who have been born can avoid dying. After reaching old age, there is death. So he is justifying. He says that there is nobody who can live eternally. There's nobody who can live immortally. There has to be a time when somebody dies. So if he is born, he cannot avoid dying. He has to die. And after reaching old age, जब भी वो बुढ़ा हो जाता है तभी that is the time when he dies. such a na- Such a nature are living beings, and that is the nature of living beings. You may get a question, what is the nature of the living beings? And this is the answer, that if you're born, you cannot avoid dying. You are born there, after being born, you're troubled, and your life is troubled, brief, and it is combined with pain, but there is no chance that you can avoid death. That is inevitable, and it cannot be avoided at any cost. As ripe fruits are early in danger of falling, so mortals, when born, are always in danger of death. So over here he says that just like how ripe fruits are early in danger of falling, so the fruits that are ripe in a tree, when the fruits that are ripe have a higher chance of falling down as compared to a raw fruit. जो पके हुए fruits होता है ना वो गिरते हैं, जो raw fruits होता है वो इतना जल्दी नहीं गिरते. So the same thing with the mortals over here. The mortals, when they are born, they are always in danger of death. So we come to the earth, we live, and that is when we are supposed to die. As all earthen vessels made by the potter end in being broken, so is the life of mortals. So, what are the two examples that Buddha gives? One of ripe fruits, and second of earthen metals. What do you mean by earthen metals? Earthen metals means that the metals that are made by mud, the pots. Just like how the pots are broken, they are meant to be broken, that is the same way the mortals one day will be dead as well. That is how the mortals one day will die as well. Both young and adult, both of these who are fools and those who are wise, all fall into the power of death. All are subject to death. So over here he is explaining that no matter if you're a young person or an adult, you will both fall under the power of death. You will all think that you want to try to go away from death. You can win over death, but that is not the case. Death is inevitable. If you've come into the life, you have to get away. You will be out of the life. You will be dying one day as well. So that is what he's saying, that is the power of death, that if you are born, you are going to die as well, and you are all subject to that. That means that death is mandatory. You are going to die someday. Of those who overcome by death depart from life. A father cannot save his son, nor kinsman their relation. Mark, while relatives are looking on and lamenting deeply, one by one mortals are carried off like an ox that is led to the slaughter. So the world is afflicted with death and decay. Therefore, the wise do not grieve knowing the terms of the world. So now he's saying a very spiritual thing over here. He says that those who are overcome by death, they depart from life. That means that the ones who've understood, they are, or they depart. The ones who are dying, the ones who are already dead, They cannot come back to life. They have overcome, they, you cannot ever say that you've overcome death. You can never win over death. You are going to die someday. Similarly, a father who has lost a son, he cannot save his son. A kinsman cannot save the relations that he has. A king cannot save the religion. A kinsman cannot save the religions. The relatives who are looking at you and they are crying over the death of somebody, the relations that are crying over the death of somebody, they cannot see you. All what they are seeing is that the mortals, the human beings, are compared to an ox over here. So, which is a simile that is being used, that the mortals, they are compared to an ox which is led to the slaughterhouse. What is a slaughterhouse? A slaughterhouse is a place where all the oxes are killed. They are killed one by one after the other. They are killed mercilessly. So the mortals over here are compared to the ox, that just like how an ox is led, an ox is taken to the slaughter just so that an ox is killed. The same way the mortal's life is, once they grow, once the mortal is born, they grow up, and then later on they die. So just like how an ox dies in a slaughterhouse, the man as well go is the man as well, once he grows old, dies. So the world is afflicted with death and decay. So the world is affected with death and decay. There is death everywhere. Therefore, the people who are smart, the people who are wise, they do not grieve, they do not be sad over the people who have died, because they know the terms of the world. What are the terms of the world? The terms of the world are that if you've come into the life, the terms of the world are that if you've come into the life, you're going to get away from it. If you've come into life, you are going to die someday as well. So, not from weeping, Buddha says, not from weeping nor from grieving will anyone obtain the peace of mind. He says that if you are crying, weeping means crying. If you're crying, you will not get happiness. Even if you're being sad over somebody's death, you will not get the peace of mind. On the contrary, on the opposite, his pain will be greater and his body will suffer. So if you're sad over somebody's death, if you're being sad over somebody's death, you are going to get a greater pain. Your mind is not going to obtain peace. Your body is the one that will suffer. He is the one who will make himself pale. He says that, so Buddha says that if you are crying over somebody's death, you are hurting your own self, because death cannot be stopped. You are going to make yourself sick. You will make yourself pale. And yet the dead are not saved by the lamentation. So he says that even if you're crying, you're only hurting yourself, because the ones who are already died, they will not come back to life even if you cry so much. So there is no point in crying. There is no point in grieving over the ones who have already died. He who seeks peace, then Buddha says that if you are the one who is seeking peace, you should draw out the arrow of lamentation and complaint and grief. That means take an arrow, put all your lamentation, all your crying, all your suffering, all your complaints, all your grief, all your sadness, take all of it and just draw out the arrow. Draw out the arrow means just throw it away, draw it away. He who has drawn out the arrow, once you draw out the arrow, once you remove it from your arrow, once you hit it, मतलब जो भी arrow तुम arrow को shoot कर रहे हो, उसके बाद तुम्हारा जो भी कंप्लेंट है, योर कंप्लेंट, योर सैडनेस, योर लेमेंटेशन, सब कुछ जो भी है वो एरो में डाल के उसको शूट कर लो और उसको अपने मन में से निकाल दो. That is when you will be the one who has composed your mind. That is the time when you are somebody who has gained the real peace of mind. So this person who has removed sadness, complaint, and grief is the one who will get the real peace of mind. He, the one who has overcome all the sorrow, will become free from sorrow and will be blessed. So Gautam Buddha says that if you are somebody who has overcome all the sorrow. Overcome means that if you have gotten out of it, if you have gotten over it, उसको भूल गए हो, अगर तुम अपने दुख को भूल गए, if you've forgotten your sorrow and your sadness, that is when you will become free from sadness, and you will be blessed. And by blessed we means Buddha means the real enlightenment. That is when you will be enlightened, and that is when you will get the true happiness. So this is the story of the sermons at Banaras, the preachings at Banaras by none other than the very famous Gautam Buddha, the one who started the Buddhism religion, and it is still practiced today. The Buddhism is still practiced in the eastern sides, China, Indonesia, Nepal. You will find lots of Buddhists. You will find the Buddhism culture to be flourished over there, and it is still practiced. The Bodhi tree that we studied in the very beginning of the chapter, the Bodhi tree is still existing. If you see, go and research, do your research. If you see the Bodhi tree, you will understand that the Bodhi tree which was named after him is still existing, and that is why we know that it is still that all his teachings are the ones that are really said by him himself, so that he can bring peace in the world. So, with this, we complete the chapter Sermons at Banaras. It is a very important chapter from the board point of view. After this, what you are going to do is you are going to underline all the words that are difficult in this chapter. Vocabulary is very important in this chapter. Vocabulary, because you get questions in your board which says that, what is the meaning of befitted, or what is the meaning of an aged man out there, aged man, sorry. You will get a question like this, so you will have to explain. So what your homework is, that you are going to underline all these words, suppose scripture, sacred, befitted, or sufferings, procession, sights means views, begging, all of these words, you will find the meaning of these words, and you will find the meaning of it. The reason is because you get a 1 mark question on it, that find the word from the passage which means this, which means going to school, or which means a pride, or a gathering of people. So what is the gathering of people? Procession. So you should be able to answer all these types of questions for 1 mark. So make sure you do this homework today itself,